Tonight, booster battle as the fight against COVID-19 continues. Plus, the neck-and-neck race for the governor's mansion in Virginia.
Good evening, everybody!
And more than 8 months after the January 6th Capitol riot, the fences are back up.
If everything goes well, it'll come down very soon after.
Ahead of this weekend's rally in support of those arrested in the wake of the Capitol breach. All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
A slowing COVID infection rate meets a growing death rate. Good evening, I'm Jenna Browder.
I'm John Jessup. Welcome to Faith Nation. The United States is closing in on 670,000 coronavirus-related deaths. Data compiled by the New York Times shows, on average, the disease is killing 1,888 people every day. That is a 33% jump in just the past 2 weeks.
If you break down the numbers from Johns Hopkins University, 1 in every 500 Americans has died due to the pandemic. That sobering statistic coming as the Delta variant rages. Hospitals from coast to coast overwhelmed, and now 9 states seeing the most COVID patients than at any other point during the pandemic.
Dr. Jerome Adams, former Surgeon General under the Trump administration, joins us now for more. Dr. Adams, welcome back to Faith Nation. You know, if you take a look at either Facebook or Twitter, it's easy to see how, people can access misinformation about COVID and about vaccines. Dr. Adams, how concerning is that, especially when it comes to ending the pandemic?
Well, misinformation is really our biggest enemy right now. Last year, we were trying to defeat this pandemic, this virus, without many of the tools that were necessary, without proper PPE, without adequate testing, certainly without a vaccine. This year is different. This year, we've been given gifts from above, truly gifts from God, to be able to fight this pandemic successfully. And there are places around the world that are actually doing it. But we just don't have the will and the right information to utilize those tools. Misinformation is killing us, quite frankly. And it's my hope that people will ask questions, because it's always okay to ask questions, but it's not okay to make poor decisions for your health, your family's health, or your community's health based on misinformation.
Yeah. Dr. Francis Collins, he was also, agreed with you a while back on Faith Nation, also called it a miracle, these vaccines. As the nation's top doctor serving as the 20th Surgeon General of the United States under the Trump administration, is it the role of government to mandate vaccines? What's your thought on that?
Well, I never like to mandate anything. And quite frankly, people tend to push back when there's a government mandate. What you saw was President Biden's announcement recently, with him really acting more as employer-in-chief than as commander-in-chief. He said, look, if you work for the federal government, we're going to mandate that you get vaccines. And that really set a standard for other employers around the country, large employers, to be able to enforce mandates. And from an employer standpoint, I think they have a vested interest in protecting their workers and in keeping the business open. And we're seeing schools shutting down, businesses shutting down, because they're being overwhelmed by this pandemic. So I think employer mandates, local mandates are perfectly appropriate if they're protecting life and liberty and our economic freedoms. I think people are always going to push back if they think the government's trying to make them do something.
Speaking of the president, Dr. Adams, you say it's dangerous for the president and other health professionals to preach about the, quote, pandemic of the unvaccinated. Dr. Adams, can you explain what you mean by that?
Well, many people have taken to this phrase that it's a pandemic of the unvaccinated. Number one, that's just simply not true. We're all impacted as long as we are in a pandemic state. And so it's on all of us to really get informed and reach out and engage. So I'm vaccinated, but I'm still being impacted by this pandemic. And so it's still on me to reach out to my friends, my family, my neighbors, and help get their questions answered so that they can keep themselves safe and keep our community safe. But more than that, I really don't like the idea of demonizing people and creating this us versus them mentality when you look at the vaccinated and unvaccinated. Many women have been preyed upon by misinformation out there that's convinced them that their fertility may be at risk. There were 3 studies that came out last week that showed that women are not at higher risk for miscarriages or infertility if they get the vaccine. In fact, you're more likely to protect yourself and your baby while pregnant if you're vaccinated. There are African Americans who are fearful of historical medical racism that still needs to be overcome. And that's been going on for decades. We're not going to overcome it in just a few months. There are a lot of Hispanics out there who were worried about immigration concerns. And so we need to be compassionate, answer people's questions with empathy, and when you do that, you win them over.
All right, Dr. Jerome Adams, we have to leave it there, but we appreciate you coming on this evening. Good to see you.
Thank you. Vaccines.gov. Get the facts and get your vax.
Thank you, Dr. Adams.
All right, you heard it from the doctor. Well, to a state election with national implications. Tonight, the 2 men vying to be Virginia's next governor will hit the debate stage for the first time. COVID and the possibility of vaccine mandates are expected to get a lot of attention as Democrat Terry McAuliffe and Republican Glenn Youngkin try to win over undecided voters. Tonight's debate comes just a day before early in-person voting begins in Virginia. The debate stage is nothing new to McAuliffe, who previously served 1 term as governor of the Commonwealth.
Tonight's event will, though, be a first for political newcomer Youngkin. He sat down with CBN's Tara Merchner explaining why he's ready to transition from business executive to the executive mansion.
The face-off between Republican Glenn Youngkin and Democrat Terry McAuliffe is seen as the country's most important race right now. National Republicans are investing heavily, hoping to turn this potential blue state back to red.
Glenn Youngkin.
Glenn Youngkin.
Glenn Youngkin, very much a political outsider.
Republicans now in Virginia choosing a former private equity CEO as their pick for governor.
A wealthy businessman who had not run for political office before.
This year's gubernatorial race will be an expensive and highly contested election.
A lot of Republicans have decided that they just wanted to move in an entirely new direction.
Defeating a slate of other Republicans.
And I am honored to accept your nomination for governor of the great Commonwealth of Virginia.
Political newcomer and homegrown Virginian Glenn Youngkin.
We've traveled all around this great Commonwealth, tens of thousands of miles.
Is on the move. Youngkin, who grew up in Virginia Beach and now lives outside Washington, D.C., touts his family.
Raising 4 great kids with Suzanne, my loving wife of 26 years.
And faith. Tell me about your faith.
It's the foundation of everything that I do.
A former dishwasher, Youngkin became a successful businessman as CEO of an investment firm worth $300 million. He quit that job the day after telling his wife he was running for governor.
This great Commonwealth, which was the best state in America to live and work and raise a family, it's not that anymore.
Glenn Youngkin is going to be our next governor.
He's considered the GOP's best shot at winning the first statewide race in Old Dominion in 12 years.
And let's just stop for a minute and say amen. Yes, my friend.
This is an amazing moment for Virginia. But as I said, it's not just around Republicans. It's independents, it's Democrats, all coming together and saying very clearly, no, this left liberal progressive agenda that we've been subjected to from governors over the course of the last 8 years.
Although this is the 54-year-old's first campaign, polls show a virtual tie with McAuliffe, a longtime establishment politician looking to land the governor's chair a second time.
Hey, good evening, everybody.
President Biden is already on the campaign trail. A sign the numbers are too close for comfort. Youngkin has the support of Donald Trump, delighting Democrats.
He's desperately trying to shake the Republican and Trump label.
Do you welcome that support from Donald Trump, and how do you walk that fine line?
Right. I actually don't view it as a fine line to be walked. One of the great things that happened when I won the Republican convention was that all Republicans came together and said, we're for Glenn. And so President Trump endorsed me the next day, and I thanked him for it.
Youngkin's agenda includes tightening state election laws, protecting gun rights, backing the blue, and pushing back against an array of national issues playing out locally. One of the most heated debates in Virginia right now is critical race theory.
Critical race theory should not be taught in our schools. And when I'm governor, it won't be taught in our schools.
Under a Youngkin administration, no mask mandate.
In the current set of data that we see today, no mask mandate.
There are people in the country, many people, very concerned that, particularly as Christians, those rights are being whittled away.
I think this is an extremely important issue for everyone to make sure they're aware of, which is, our First Amendment to our Constitution protects our religious liberty, our religious freedom.
Though Youngkin is staunchly pro-life, he raised eyebrows with recent comments made to undercover activists about avoiding the issue until after the campaign.
Sadly, that in fact won't win my independent votes that I have to get.
How do you address that?
I've been very clear from the beginning of this entire campaign. I'm pro-life. Abortion issues absolutely are something I'm more than happy to talk about because everybody knows where I stand. But as I campaign around and answer questions, the questions around jobs and schools and safe communities are really on so many voters' minds.
While Democrats may still have the upper hand going into November, the GOP is more confident they can win with Youngkin on the ticket.
Okay, thank you all so much.
Republicans actually recognize that if we aren't together, we won't win. And if we are together, we can win. And that's been a fabulous development during this race.
Between 1977 and 2017, the party in the White House has only won Virginia's governorship once. This time around, Republicans are hoping what they see as anti-Democrat sentiment will help put Youngkin over the top come November. In Washington, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
All right, thank you, Tara. Great interview. And with us now, CBN News Chief Political Analyst David Brody. David, so Glenn Youngkin, Terry McAuliffe, today getting their last-minute jabs in on Twitter, sparring over vaccines and how to end the pandemic. Sparks are certainly flying ahead of tonight.
There's no doubt. I like how you said the word jabs about vaccine. That is correct. They are getting the jabs in. And, it's interesting for Glenn Youngkin. I mean, everything seems to be coming into this perfect storm for him to potentially win the governorship. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, the fact that the polls are neck and neck, that's not good news for McAuliffe in a state that's not deep blue, but it's blue. There's no doubt. But beyond that, the vaccine issue, Glenn Youngkin has played this very well, right? He's PSAs for the vaccine. He's all for the vaccine. When it comes to mandates, he's separating that out. And I think the way, at least my spidey sense, my political spidey sense senses it here, is that that's probably a pretty good position to be in right now because we're seeing a lot of other people with the vaccine mandates come out of the woodwork and say, hey, this cannot happen. And we saw the Biden overreach as well. And then you see Biden's poll numbers. I mean, he's tanking as well. So the only trip up for Youngkin could be Trump. And he's giving this endorsement, or I say, Trump gave him the endorsement and he's kind of like, thanks a lot with his hand out like that, an arm's length strategy. We'll see how much that hurts him. That's going to be obviously key to watch.
David, also abortion. Tara mentioned that video that those undercover activists put out. And, his answer in Tara's interview, he really didn't address the question. Do you think that'll be a problem for him?
Well, that's a good point. And this is the problem for Youngkin. He could be too cute by half. He's trying to play both sides here. Now, he's leaned into critical race theory, the Loudoun County School Board, all the exurbs, the suburbs, and all that stuff. That's going to do very, very well for him. Even the transgender bathroom stuff, I mean, that also helps him in the suburbs. But boy, on the abortion issue, he's got to be very, very careful because he needs everybody in the base. Ultimately, this is going to come down to turnout. And this is where McAuliffe could pull it out because the Democrats, they churn it out. And McAuliffe sure knows how to churn it out. That will be key to watch.
David, you hinted at this earlier. Virginia has been trending purple, if not blue, over the last decade, both at the presidential and statewide office level. Talk about the political headwinds again, maybe a little bit more in depth about Republicans potentially reclaiming the governor's mansion, especially as you mentioned with Biden's sagging poll numbers.
Yeah, well, look, I mean, like I said, it's all there for Youngkin. He can do this, but he's got to be careful. And once again, the abortion issue, which I thought was interesting that Jenna brought up there, and of course Tara brought up in the interview, could be something to watch out for. But look, all eyes are going to be on Virginia. I mean, there's not even a question about this. And I got to tell you, a lot of times the media makes a big deal about how, you know, oh, this off election, we're going to be looking for tea leaves. We're going to read the tea leaves. What does this mean for 2022? I think in the case of Virginia, it's exactly right that we read the tea leaves here. I think there are going to be major tea leaves for sure. I think this is going to be something to watch, and I think it'll portend good or bad for Democrats in 2022.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Yeah, David Brody, we'll leave it there. Thank you.
Thanks, David.
Thanks, guys.
Capitol Hill on high alert. We explain why the fence is back up 8 months after the January 6th insurrection. Next on Faith Nation.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
This is CBN News Watch.
Thanks for joining us.
Watch breaking news, exclusive stories and programs, credible news reporting.
We show you what's happening in the world and how you can pray about it.
This is CBN News Watch, because truth matters. Weekdays at 5 on the CBN News Channel.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
Hillsborough Falls man, come with...
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
Welcome back. The U.S. Capitol on high alert and ramping up security ahead of a weekend protest. It's called the Justice for J6 rally, aimed at supporting people jailed for their involvement in the Capitol riot.
The organizer is pledging the crowd will be peaceful, but law enforcement isn't taking any chances. CBN national security correspondent Caitlin Burke brings us a story from Capitol Hill.
As you can see behind me, the fencing is once again back up around the Capitol. The crowd expected is likely to be much smaller than the thousands that gathered on January 6th. Still, it's the first large-scale security test since that fateful day.
Saturday's rally will take place in the exact same area where protesters turned violent on January 6th. It's also happening at a time when the intelligence community has been warning about domestic extremism.
The greatest terrorism-related threat to the homeland is the threat of domestic terrorism. Individuals who are prone to violence by reason of an ideology of hate or false narratives that we see spread on social media or other online platforms.
With an uptick in online chatter ahead of the Justice for J6 rally, the biggest concern is that extremists have taken notice. Organizer Matt Brainerd says he's confident that won't be the case.
This is a completely peaceful protest. It's an exercise of our First Amendment rights. Anybody advocating or intent on engaging in violence is not welcome.
Brainerd tells CBN News this rally is to demand justice for those individuals charged and imprisoned after January 6th, not accused of violence or damage of property.
We're standing up for the hundreds of individuals who've been charged, who've been hunted down, who've been turned into domestic terrorists by our media and our Department of Justice, who engaged in no violence. who are simply in the wrong place at the wrong time and historically have been treated with nothing more than a slap on the wrist.
In a statement, the U.S. Capitol Police say they will defend the First Amendment right to peacefully protest, but measures are in place to defend the Capitol.
Washington, D.C. police are on standby and will have an increased presence around the city. A request for support from the National Guard has also been made to the Pentagon. Something that's also worth mentioning, there will be no Republican lawmakers in attendance at this rally. Caitlin Burke, CBN News.
When I came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Nigerian Christians
in Iran are routinely arrested.
Happily, Christians continue to suffer.
In times of trial and affliction, you need to know the truth.
One of the fastest growing Christian populations in the world.
Join Wendy Griffith and George Thomas for Christian World News.
Young people are the ones who are open to the gospel.
Powerful stories of suffering and hope that affect all Christians. Saturday night at 6 on the CBN News Channel. Get Protect Your Sleep and discover how to improve the quality of your life. A free DVD or booklet from the Christian Broadcasting Network.
If you're not a great sleeper, you can do things to make yourself a great sleeper. If you're already a pretty good sleeper, you can enhance your sleep and be even better.
5 leading experts help remove the obstacles between you and restorative sleep.
When you don't get a restful night's sleep, you wake up with an accumulation of stress.
Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet today.
Everything you do better with a good night's sleep.
You'll discover how food affects your sleep, how to put insomnia to rest, explore effective remedies for sleep apnea, and much more in Protect Your Sleep. Wake up to your best life and get Protect Your Sleep today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com to get your free DVD or booklet.
Welcome back. To the economy, the pandemic's still hitting the job sector quite hard. A report from the Labor Department out today shows a rise in new unemployment applications. 332,000 people applied for help last week. That's up 20,000 from a pandemic low the week prior. Experts say the spread of the Delta variant may be causing a slight uptick in layoffs.
Well, food prices are through the roof. Americans feeling the effects of inflation, sparked by an increased demand for goods and services.
Tonight, the Biden administration says it's working to bring down costs, banking on a plan that would heavily tax the rich. CBN's Brody Carter joins us now. Brody, you talked to financial analysts, some of whom are issuing a warning.
Well, John, Jenna, they're warning the public the worst is far from over. But first, some good news, starting with credit card debt. It's down 15% over 2019. In addition to both low unemployment and interest rates, some positive momentum for the economy trying to stand on its feet.
We're either going to run out of stuff or we're going to pay more for it unless something changes.
New inflation numbers show the average American is experiencing sticker shock.
Grocery inflation is up about 3% over the past year, whereas food away from home, that's the term they use, but more restaurant sales, inflation there is up about 4.7%.
Inflation at the wholesale level climbed more than 8% last month. Year to year, the largest gain in 10 years. Meat, fish, poultry, and eggs, those are up almost 6% and up 15% since the beginning of the pandemic. There's also a packaging problem. Aluminum hit its highest price in 10 years. Cardboard hitting an all-time high in February. As food distributors pay higher prices, you, the consumer, feel that impact in your wallet. But what's the reason for the increase?
There's big backups at the ports. There's sometimes quarantines. There's not enough workers.
The federal government in the last 2 years, 20 and 21, has spent more than $6 trillion more than they've taken in tax revenue. That's all pure excess demand.
Analysts say we can gauge inflation by looking at shortages. bare shelves at the store, a lack of inventory in homes and automobiles. Michael Busler, professor of finance at Stockton University, says government spending is the source of our woes.
Big corporations and the super wealthy have to start paying their fair share of taxes. It's long overdue. I'm not out to punish anyone. I'm a capitalist. All I'm asking is you pay your fair share.
As Biden fights for raising taxes on the wealthy, economists are sounding the alarm, saying things will get worse before they get better. The next major pain point we'll likely see is this holiday season. That's when supply chain disruptions come to a head. A lot of people will be shopping early, and stores might have trouble stocking and restocking inventory. John, Jenna?
All right, Brody Carter, thank you very much. Well, perfecting her profession for 90-plus years still ahead. Meet a woman making history on the high seas.
Christians around the world are standing with the Israelis. But why? In CBN's free magazine, Friends of Israel, you'll discover why Christians are supporting the Jewish state, how Israel is fulfilling prophecy as a light to the nations, and ways you can pray for the people of Israel. Israel needs the support of friends like you. Call now or go to cbn.com to get your free copy of Friends of Israel.
Heavenly Father, we do thank you for the work of your Spirit, Lord God, with this movement of getting the Bible,
yes,
Lord, into public schools.
Watch The Prayer Link. Tuesday morning at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Jenna, final thought. Given much thought about when you might retire?
Not for quite a few years.
We're going to hang on to you for a while.
Yeah.
Well, you would think by the time you're 100 years old, though, you're long past retirement age.
Yeah, for most, but that is not the case for Maine's oldest lobster harvester. At 101 years old, Virginia Oliver has no plans to retire.
I've always done it, so now I might just well keep right on doing it. Well, you're your own boss. I used to be a stitcher, you know, in a pants factory. I like that better.
Oh, she's wonderful. Well, lobstering is actually a family affair for Oliver. She first learned the trade from her dad more than 90 years ago. Now, during harvest season, she works the traps with her 78-year-old son. The two still use her late husband's boat, which bears her name, Virginia.
Virginia looks good for 100.
Yes, she does. I'll have what she's having.
Same here. Thanks for watching Faith Nation.
Have a great evening.